See two cases of suspects driving off on officers, and things only get worse from there.
I'm gonna be real with you guys. It smells like weed. Strong. Very strong. I could literally smell behind your car.
We smoke when we was in the driveway because we can't smoke in our Airbnb.
Hey, stop! Stop!
The window rolled down and the heavy scent of unburnt cannabis flooded the air. It was the first warning sign of a routine encounter turning dangerous. A police officer in Kenosha, Wisconsin, stood by a sedan. The time was March. The registration on the vehicle had expired. This was a standard traffic violation. The situation appeared calm on the surface, but the passenger was already reaching under the seat. The driver was nervous. The officer had to make a choice. He decided to offer them a chance at honesty. He leaned in to speak. The interaction began with professional courtesy. The officer identified the reason for the stop. He noted the plates were expired. He asked for a driver's license and proof of insurance. The female driver tried to explain. She claimed she just did not get it updated. She said it was registered. The officer accepted the paperwork. He turned his attention to the passenger. He asked for identification. The man in the passenger seat refused. He told the officer, "I'm a passenger by love." He claimed he did not have to provide identification. The officer did not argue. He shifted the conversation to the obvious odor. He told them, "Smells like weed, strong, very strong." He laid out the procedure clearly. He explained that another officer would arrive. He stated the car would be searched. He told them everyone inside would be searched. He offered a simple bargain. "Honesty goes a long way with me," he said. He told them if they were upfront, he could work with that. He asked a direct question. He asked if there was any marijuana in the car. The passenger tried to deflect. He claimed they smoked before they left. He said they smoked in the car because they could not smoke in their rental. The officer persisted. He needed to know about the current contents of the vehicle. He asked for the passenger's name again. The passenger gave a name, but the tension was rising. The officer stepped back. He signaled to his partner. He made a decision to remove the occupants from the vehicle. This is a critical moment in police body cam analysis. It is the moment where compliance usually ends. The officer said, "You want to pull him out first." The tone changed instantly. The engine roared. The officer shouted, "Stop! Stop!" The vehicle tires screeched against the pavement. The sedan sped away westbound. The officers ran back to their patrol cars. The peace of the traffic stop was shattered. The pursuit began immediately. The radio traffic crackled with urgency. "They're taking off on us," the officer broadcasted. He gave the direction of travel. They were heading toward a local community center. It was a dead end. The officer had prepared for this. He announced he had spike strips. He was going to set them up. The situation escalated in the mind of the pursuers. The officer noted a critical detail. He broadcasted that the passenger was reaching underneath the seat. This transformed the risk assessment. It was no longer just a marijuana traffic stop. It was now a pursuit of potentially armed suspects. The officers had to assume the presence of a weapon. This assumption dictates every tactical move that follows. The pursuit speeds increased. The suspect vehicle navigated through residential streets. The officers coordinated a perimeter. They communicated street names. They mentioned 60th Street and 53rd. They called out landmarks. They referenced a school that needed to be locked down. This is standard procedure to protect the public. The fleeing driver was making decisions that endangered the community. Under Wisconsin Statute 346.04, fleeing an officer is a serious felony. The driver was compounding her legal troubles with every second she pressed the accelerator. The vehicle turned down a dirt road. It was south of 50th Street. The terrain became difficult. The suspects realized the car would not save them. They abandoned the vehicle. They ran toward a wooded area. The officers arrived seconds later. They saw the direction of flight. The radio update was concise. "They're in the woods, running." The officers drew their weapons. They moved into the tree line. The cover was dense. The risk of ambush was high. The officers shouted commands into the brush. "Show your heads." They warned the suspects not to move. They warned them of the lethal consequences. "You need to get shot," one officer shouted. A stark warning of the deadly force policy if a weapon appeared. The suspects were hiding near a brown brick house. The officers established a visual. They had them at gunpoint. The commands were rhythmic and loud. "Start slowly, walk this way." They ordered the suspects not to reach for their waistbands. The male suspect and the female driver emerged. They walked backward toward the officers. "This is a high-risk extraction." The officers kept their distance. They ordered the suspects to their knees. The female driver was handcuffed. The male passenger was secured. The adrenaline began to fade. The legal processing began. The female driver faced a litany of charges. She was charged with second-degree reckless driving. She was charged with endangering safety. She faced counts for resisting and obstructing. The search of the vehicle confirmed the suspicions. There was marijuana. More significantly, there was a firearm. The female driver was a convicted felon from another state. This added a charge of possession of a firearm by a felon. Wisconsin Statute 941.29 prohibits felons from possessing weapons. The decision to flee turned a ticket into a multi-year prison sentence exposure. The passenger's reaching motion was likely an attempt to hide or retrieve the gun. The officer's observation was accurate. The scene shifts to Fort Smith, Arkansas. The environment is different. It is the concrete echo chamber of a parking garage. A police officer was responding to a call at a department store. The suspect was a woman named Rebecca. She had allegedly stolen items from Dillard's. The officer found her near her vehicle. She was not aggressive at first. She was desperate. This is often seen in shoplifter-caught videos. The desperation manifests as bargaining. Rebecca sat in the driver's seat. The door was open. The officer stood in the opening. She began to plead. "Please no. Please no." She repeated. Her voice was high and panicked. The officer told her to get out of the car. She refused. She tried to negotiate. "I will give you the stuff back." She cried. She admitted the theft in her plea. She said she had to make it home to her kids. She repeated this phrase over and over. "I have to make it home to my kids." The officer remained calm but firm. He told her she was not going home. He ordered her to exit. She made a critical error. She reached for the ignition. She tried to put the car in gear. The officer physically engaged. He grabbed her arm. He tried to pull her from the seat. This is a dangerous position for law enforcement. If the car moves, the officer can be dragged. The risk of injury is severe. Rebecca shouted. "I am." She was struggling against his grip. The car began to roll. It was in the middle of the aisle. The officer managed to neutralize the threat of the vehicle. He pulled her out. They fell to the concrete. The struggle continued on the ground. Rebecca fought to escape. She accused the officer of choking her. "You're choking me," she screamed. The officer corrected her immediately. "It's not on your neck," he said. He was controlling her upper body. He was trying to secure her hands. This claim of breathing difficulty is common in modern arrests. It is a phrase that triggers immediate scrutiny. In this "I can't breathe" arrest scenario, the video evidence is crucial. The body cam showed the officer's arm placement. It was likely across her chest or shoulder. He was not compressing her airway. He told her to roll over. He told her to get on her knees. She continued to scream for help. She yelled, "I cannot breathe." The officer assessed her ability to speak. If a suspect can scream loudly and continuously, their airway is generally patent. The struggle subsided. Rebecca was handcuffed. She sat on the concrete floor. She began to cry about her children again. "Please let me call my kids," she begged. She asked this dozens of times. The officer told her she could call in a little bit. He needed to secure the scene first. Her car was blocking the garage lane. It was a hazard. He had to inventory the stolen merchandise. He had to check her legal status. The officer ran her name. The results were significant. Rebecca had active warrants. She had 2 warrants for failure to pay fines. One was for 16 days in jail. The other was for 100 days. She had failed to complete community service. The system had already given her a chance. She had not taken it. Now she was facing new charges. The officer explained the situation. He told her she was going to the Sebastian County Detention Center. Rebecca tried to explain her motive. She said she was stealing to pay bills. "This didn't start until I couldn't pay my bills," she claimed. She said she had only been doing it for a week. This is a common rationalization. It attempts to frame the crime as a necessity. However, under Arkansas Code 536.103, theft is a crime regardless of motive. The law does not make exceptions for financial hardship. The officer listed her new charges. She was charged with shoplifting. She was charged with fleeing. She was charged with resisting arrest. The most serious charge was aggravated assault on a peace officer. Arkansas Code 513.204 defines this felony. By trying to drive while the officer was attached to the car, she created a substantial risk of death or physical injury. She turned a misdemeanor theft into a Class Y felony. This is the highest class of felony in Arkansas, not punishable by death. The officer explained the reality of her sentence. He told her the warrants would likely run consecutively. That meant 116 days before the new charges were even addressed. He warned her about the future. He explained that a second shoplifting offense becomes a felony. He was trying to educate her. "If this is your first time, don't ever do it again," he said. He was giving her legal advice while she was in handcuffs. A male associate arrived at the scene. He was there to take custody of the car seats. The officer facilitated this. He explained the property release procedure. He allowed the transfer of the child seats. This showed a level of humanity. Despite the fight, the officer ensured the children's needs were met. Rebecca continued to cry. She realized the gravity of her position. She asked if she was really going to jail for Dillard's. The officer confirmed she was. The contrast between the two cases is sharp. In Kenosha, the suspects were armed and fled at high speed. They endangered an entire neighborhood. In Fort Smith, a mother turned to theft and panicked. Both situations ended the same way. The decision to flee made everything worse. In the Dillard's shoplifting incident, the suspect added years to her potential sentence. In the traffic stop, the driver exposed herself to federal firearm charges. The legal analysis of flight is consistent across states. Fleeing indicates a consciousness of guilt. It is admissible evidence in court. Prosecutors use the footage of flight to prove the suspect knew they were wrong. In the Kenosha case, the flight was premeditated. The passenger reached for the weapon. The driver waited for the officer to step back. It was a coordinated escape. In the Fort Smith case, the flight was impulsive. It was born of fear. But the law treats the danger the same. A fleeing vehicle is a deadly weapon. The officer in Fort Smith addressed the "I can't breathe" claim directly. He told her, "I got trained people to do this." He was referring to the proper application of control holds. He knew where his leverage was. He knew it was not on her throat. This creates a record for his defense. If a suspect resisting arrest makes a medical claim, the officer must evaluate it. But they must also maintain control. The Bodycam provides the objective truth. It protects the officer from false allegations. It also protects the suspect from excessive force. The broader impact of these crimes falls on the families. Rebecca's children were left without a mother. She mentioned a 3-month-old baby at home. Her decision to steal and then fight the police severed that bond. The system will now have to care for those children or find relatives. The warrants she ignored were the first step in this separation. The community service she skipped was her opportunity to stay free. The legal system works on a ladder of escalation. Rebecca climbed that ladder willingly. In Kenosha, the impact was on public safety. The chase went past a school. It went near a YMCA. Innocent bystanders were put at risk. The suspects cared only about their own freedom. They did not care about the drivers on 60th Street. They did not care about the residents in the brown brick house. This disregard for human life is why fleeing is a felony. It is a crime against the peace of the community. The lessons from these incidents are clear. Compliance is the only safe option. In the traffic stop, the officer gave them an opening. He asked for honesty. If they had admitted to the marijuana, the outcome might have been a citation. They might have been released. By choosing to flee, they guaranteed a felony arrest. They guaranteed the discovery of the gun. They removed any chance of discretion. For the public, knowing your rights is essential. You do not have to answer questions about where you are going. You do not have to admit to a crime. But you must provide identification when driving. You must exit the vehicle when ordered. Pennsylvania versus Mims is the Supreme Court case that established this. An officer has the right to order a driver out of a car for safety. Refusing this order is a lawful basis for arrest. Fighting the order physically is a crime. The passengers in vehicles also have obligations. In some states, passengers must identify themselves. In others, they do not. However, reaching under a seat during a stop is never a legal right. It is a threat indicator. It gives the police probable cause to escalate force. It justifies the drawing of weapons. The passenger in Kenosha almost turned a traffic ticket into a shooting. The "I can't breathe" statement has become a flashpoint. It is a phrase that demands attention, but it is also used as a tactic. Suspects know it pauses the action. They know it forces a medical assessment. In the garage, Rebecca used it while fighting. This dilutes the meaning for genuine medical emergencies. It makes it harder for officers to distinguish between a ruse and a crisis. The officer in Fort Smith had to make a split-second judgment. He trusted his training. He trusted the position of his body. These videos serve as a digital archive of human error. They show the exact moment where a bad decision becomes a criminal act. They show the patience of law enforcement. The officer in Fort Smith listened to Rebecca beg for 10 minutes. He explained the law to her associate. He did not yell. He did not strike her. He simply held her until she stopped fighting. The officer in Kenosha remained professional during a high-stress hunt. He used clear commands. He secured the suspects without firing a shot. The aftermath of the Fort Smith arrest was captured on the audio. The officer explained the property release. He told the associate, "She's got shoplifting, she's got fleeing." He listed the reality. The associate asked, "Is this really happening?" It was a moment of disbelief. The reality of the criminal justice system is often a shock to friends and family. They see the person they love in handcuffs. They do not see the actions that led there. They do not see the attempt to run over the officer. Rebecca's claim that she would give the stuff back reveals a misunderstanding of theft laws. The crime is completed when the suspect takes control of the property with the intent to deprive the owner. Walking out of the store completes the act. Offering to return it after getting caught does not undo the crime. It is an admission of guilt. It is not a legal defense. The officer cannot simply accept the return of stolen goods and let the suspect go. That would violate his oath. It would violate the policy of the department. The visual of the police chase on foot in the woods is chaotic. The camera shakes. The breath of the officer is heavy. The commands are shouted. This is the reality of police work. It is not a scripted drama. It is a physical contest. The suspects in the woods were tired. They realized they could not outrun the radio. They realized they could not outrun the perimeter. The surrender was inevitable. The use of spike strips in the Kenosha pursuit was a tactical success. It forced the suspects to abandon the car. A car is a 2-ton weapon. A suspect on foot is less dangerous to the general public. By neutralizing the vehicle, the officers protected the roadway. They forced the confrontation into a contained environment. This is a textbook application of pursuit policy. The interaction regarding the identification in the Kenosha stop is notable. The passenger said, "I don't have to do that." In many jurisdictions, this is a complex legal area. However, when the officer smells marijuana, the scope of the stop changes. Reasonable suspicion of a crime allows for the detention and identification of all parties. The smell of drugs incriminated the entire vehicle. The passenger lost his anonymity the moment the window rolled down. The court system will now decide the fate of these individuals. Rebecca faces a Class Y felony. She faces a minimum prison sentence if convicted. The driver in Kenosha faces federal prison time for the gun. The decisions made in seconds will equate to years in a cell. The tragedy is that both incidents were avoidable. The traffic stop could have been a ticket. The shoplifting could have been avoided by seeking social services. The systemic issues revealed are complex. There is the issue of economic desperation driving theft. There is the issue of firearm possession by felons. There is the issue of outstanding warrants piling up. Rebecca had 100 days hanging over her head before she even entered Dillard's. The system had already caught her. She was living on borrowed time. The traffic stop just accelerated the process. In the end, the body camera acts as the impartial witness. It captures the smell of the weed through the officer's commentary. It captures the desperation of the mother through her pleas. It captures the danger of the fleeing car. It allows the public to see the reality of policing. It shows that officers are often the only thing standing between a fleeing felon and a tragedy. It shows that choices have consequences. And in the eyes of the law, those consequences are mandatory.